Then you have this joke about, this again, Reader's Digest. Today we talk, time there was when we had the barefoot doctor, the doctor will come on a bicycle with his handbag and whether it is your nose or your stomach or your eye, he was the general practitioner. We call it internal medicine. Today you have got super specialization. You go to an orthodontist, go to a dental surgeon, go to Dr. Kincha here, you see so-and-so orthodontist, so-and-so periodontist, so-and-so this orthodontist. So it's completely confusing. So here was Venkatachalam went to London and he was sick. So he went to Harley Street. You know Harley Street? Fleet Street is where all journalists live. Harley Street is where all the doctors stay. So he went to Harley Street. Let me go and... So he went to the doctor. He said, what's your problem? I got a bad cold in the nose. I can't breathe. Okay. But what's your problem? He says, my nose, nostrils are all blocked, he said. He says, I am a general practitioner. I don't deal with this. You have, this is an ENT problem, he said. So you go to number 5 Harley Street. That's an ENT surgeon there. So went to 5 Harley Street, he narrated. Then the fellow doctor listened to him. He said, which nostril is bothering you? He says, my left nostril. He said, I am the specialist for the right nostril. Go to number 11, he said. This is the story of super specialization. Now go. Yeah. Now this is slightly India-Pakistan. An Indian was having breakfast one morning, coffee, bread, butter, jam and croissant. And a Pakistani chewing gum. He comes chewing like that, sits next to him. The Indian ignores the Pakistani, who nevertheless starts the conversation. Pakistani, you Indian folks eat the whole bread? Indian in a foul mood. Of course. Pakistani, after blowing a huge bubble, we don't. In Pakistan, we only eat what's inside. The crusts we collect in a container, recycle it, transform them into croissants and sell them to India. The Pakistan has a smirk on his face. The Indian listens in silence. The Pakistani persists. Do you eat jam and bread? The Indian says, yeah. The Pakistani, cracking his gum between his teeth and chuckling, we don't. In Pakistan, we eat fresh fruit for breakfast and put all the peels, seeds and leftovers in containers, recycle them and transform them into jam and sell the jam to India. Indian, very annoyed, very angry. Now this is the dirty one. Do you have sex in Pakistan? Of course we do, the Pakistani. And what do you do with the condom that you all use? The Pakistani, we throw them away. Indian, we don't. In India, we put them in a container, recycle them, melt them down into chewing gum and sell them to Pakistan. A man who smelt like a distillery flopped on a bar stool and sat next to a priest. The man's tie was stained, his face was plastered with red lipstick, and a half-empty bottle of gin was sticking out of his pocket. He opened his newspaper and began reading. After a few minutes, the disheveled guy turned to the priest and asked, "Say, Father, what is the cause of arthritis?" "Mister," the priest tells this vagrant, "it is caused by loose living, being with cheap, wicked women, too much alcohol, and a contempt for fellow human beings." So this vagrant says, "Well, I'll be damned." Returned to his paper. The priest, thinking that he had been rather rude to the young man, "I'm sorry, young man," he said. "I didn't mean to be so strong. How long have you had arthritis? I don't. I'm just reading here that the Pope has got arthritis. You must have heard this one, of course. Bhatta Singh goes to Kundan Electronics in Coxtown and asks Sadhna, who stays in our building, the owner of that electronic, I want to buy this TV. So the owner says, we don't sell TV to Sardajis. He says, this fellow out. So he goes home, changes the headdress, puts on a cap and comes back, I want to buy this TV. So we don't sell this TV, don't sell it to TV to Sardajis. So this time what he does is, he shaves his head, shaves his beard, and then comes with a cap, says, I want to buy this TV. We don't sell to Sardajis. Then this was very angry and also intrigued. How the hell did you know that I am a Sardarji? Because what you are pointing at is not a TV, it's a microwave oven. I think I've already finished 10 minutes. Two more. The scene is in Australia. It's a scene in a bus. There's a man, very dirty, spit on his shirt, he had streaked hair. And then there is an old man sitting opposite him. And this person, young hippie, let's call him, very angry. He said, what are you staring at me for? No, he said, why? He said, I was wondering whether you could be my son. What do you mean by that? He said, a friend of mine. No, when I was here, now I was in the Navy, I retired from the Navy. When I was in Melbourne, I had sex with a parrot. And I was wondering whether you are the product of that encounter, he said. I will tell you the last one, last two, because I am an X-ray layman. There's one more X-ray layman sitting, Mr. Krishnan. Of course, he abandoned the railways. You remember Mr. S.N. Mahant, who retired as general manager, mechanical? This happened to him. So Mahant was traveling, we were in Assam. And Assam, I'm talking about the 50s, you see. Tea gardens, and you have the oil companies, Standard Oil Company, Burma Oil Company, all people committed, They were traveling in first class. I don't know whether Man fabricated this, but that's what he told me. And we were all British people. Burma Share is a British company. So they were in the sixth berth, first class compartment on meter gauge, and they were traveling from one place to the other. Almost half an hour, nobody is talking to anybody because unless you are introduced, they won't talk. Suddenly one person said, I am Johnson, I am in tea, he said. The other person said, I am Wilson, I am in oil. And Mahan got up and said, I am Mahan, I am in the soup, he said. So he told me. This one actually happened. And this again repeated to me by Mahan. If you recall, in those days, in the 60s, the daily allowance rules for central government officers used to be, if you leave before 4 o'clock in the evening, you get daily allowance for that day. And if you arrive after 8 a.m., you get daily allowance for that day. So what happened, I will give you, Guwahati is the headquarters of that place. And you had a place called Lumding, which is about 120 kilometers from there, where I was divisional commercial superintendent. Much later, of course, this happened 20 years before me. So there was a meeting in Lumding. Now, officers will be traveling, senior officers will travel in what are called saloons. Saloons is sort of a house on wheels. It's got a drawing room, it's got 2-3 bedrooms, there's room for a steno, all that. And there's a fridge, everything. So this friend, there's a very nasty deputy general manager, was very unpopular because very nasty to the junior officers. He was traveling from Guwahati to Lamding. So he came by a goods train. Attached the saloon to the goods train, arrived next day morning for the meeting. So he is getting daily allowance he will get from the day. He wants daily, next day after the meeting, he tells very pompously, the practices, the officers coming from the headquarters will be treated to lunch, in the dinner in the club. Small community, there will be about 30 officers, everybody, there will be a dinner. And he tells them, I say, please order a good train. A good train at about, say, the running time between Lamding to Guwahati, those steam locomotive days, only 120 kilometers, it will take about 10 hours, you see. So he says, you order a good train to leave at about 9 o'clock, so that, I go to office next day. So these fellows, because they have suffered this torment for all these years, will teach this fellow a lesson. So they ordered a train at 9:30, after dinner, 9:30 in the night, 21:30. The divisional mechanical engineer called the loco foreman and said, I'll take your hide off your back. The best locomotive and the best engine must be allotted because the boss is traveling. The division operating superintendent told the control room, this train shall not be detained anywhere. It must get a through run. And he says, water columns, see, the engine has to take water. Now what happened was, so much of planning went into frustrating the intentions of the boss that the train landed at Guwahati at 5 o'clock in the morning. The driver ran and ran and ran. Now from Guwahati to the marshalling yard in Pandu, there was no line. It waited for 1.5 hours. And then slowly it trudged in. And the station superintendent waited at the saloon to receive the boss. He said, what's your time? That man says, sir, it is 7:40. No, according to my time, it's 8:10, he says. No, sir, we take the timing at the cabin. It is left to reach the cabin. Very angry because he cannot get his daily allowance for that day. And goes back to office, rings up the divisional operating superintendent, tells him, what is I say, you people are all not bothered about safety and all that, you see. So they replied, very interesting. In Hindi, if you all can understand Hindi, sir, बड़ा बॉस गाड़ी में था, जल्दी हो गया ये. Everything happened in a hurry. Anyway, I have much more to say, but I don't want to waste your time. Take a